The stars were beautiful, even in chains. Through the transparent walls of the Dominion's prison ship, I watched constellations drift past like silent ghosts. My wrists ached from the cold restraints, but I refused to lower my gaze. The guards, tall, crystalline beings with eyes like molten glass, wanted to see fear. They wanted me to look small, broken. I wouldn't give them that. Earth had fallen 3 months ago. Our fleets were dust, our city silent. Humanity's defiance had ended in fire, and yet here I was, still breathing. The Dominion didn't kill every enemy. They collected the ones that fascinated them. To them, I wasn't a soldier. I was a curiosity. When the ship descended through the shimmering atmosphere of their capital world, I caught my first glimpse of Vashtara's citadel. It was less a building than a mountain of living light. Spires of metal that flowed like water, glowing with veins of gold. The air shimmered with energy fields. The planet beneath was a world of perfection sculpted by arrogance. They marched me through corridors lined with alien nobles, scaled, feathered, luminous, insectoid, each a masterpiece of evolution. Their eyes followed me, gleaming with amusement and disdain. I understood none of their words, but mockery sounded the same in any tongue. Then the doors of the throne chamber opened. The hall stretched a kilometer long, every surface carved with runes of power. At its far end sat Empress Vashtara, ruler of 10,000 worlds. Her skin shone like polished bronze. Her eyes burned golden, too bright to stare at for long. She was draped in armor that looked poured from molten light. Beautiful, terrible, eternal. The guard shoved me to my knees. I stayed there, breathing hard, staring at the woman who had crushed my world. Vashtara tilted her head, studying me the way a collector studies a rare gem. "So this is the human who fought the fall of Terra," she said, her voice melodic yet sharp. "They said you refused surrender even after your army burned." I said nothing. Silence, I had learned, was a weapon. She rose, descending the stairs with the grace of a predator. "You fascinate me," she continued. "Your species is fragile, flesh and bone, yet you fought like gods. Such defiance must be preserved." Her hand brushed my chin, forcing my eyes up. "You will not be executed," she said. "You will be displayed." Laughter rippled through the court. My fists clenched, nails cutting skin. Displayed, like an animal behind glass. That was their idea of mercy. Days blurred into weeks. I was given a chamber, luxurious, gilded and inescapable. Guards watched from every corner. Servants fed me food I couldn't pronounce. I was dressed in silks the color of starlight and paraded at galas, where nobles pointed and whispered about the trophy of humanity. I learned their language out of spite. Every overheard word, every sneered insult became a piece of the puzzle. I memorized the routes of patrols, the patterns of lights, the rhythm of the citadel's heart. Vashtara often summoned me, sometimes to amuse her guests, sometimes simply to talk. She asked about Earth's myths, our wars, our music. "Your kind creates beauty from suffering," she once said. "Do you not tire of pain?" I met her gaze and replied, "Pain is proof we're still alive." Her expression flickered. Interest, perhaps respect, but it vanished behind a regal mask. At night, I'd stare out from the balcony at the endless city of light. The Dominion was vast, perfect, and dead. Every citizen moved with mechanical obedience. No laughter, no chaos, no soul. And I realized what frightened the most about humanity wasn't our weapons. It was that we felt. I began a plan. Every small kindness from a servant was a potential ally. Every overlooked vent, every forgotten corridor, a path to freedom. I trained in secret, using the room's furniture as makeshift weights. My body healed. My mind sharpened. I became patient. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Vashtara visited without her retinue. She stood by the window beside me. "Do you hate me?" she asked quietly. "Yes," I said. "Good," she murmured. "Hatred means you're still human." Then she left, leaving behind a faint scent of ozone and fire. That night, I swore an oath to stars. If humanity had fallen, I would make sure our defiance did not die with it. I would turn their own arrogance into their undoing. They thought they had taken a trophy. They had taken a storm, and storms do not kneel. Days became months in the gilded prison of the Dominion's heart. Time moved differently here, sterile, calculated, stripped of the wild rhythm of human life. Everything was perfect, and perfection was suffocating. I was no longer paraded every day. The novelty of the human trophy had dulled for most of the court, replaced by new amusements and scandals. That suited me just fine. It gave me time to observe, to listen, to think. The Citadel was a marvel of design. Its halls shifted, realigning pathways like a living creature. Its guards were hybrids of metal and flesh, bound by command codes that pulsed through the walls. Every surface shimmered faintly with power. To an outsider, escape would seem impossible. To me, it was only difficult. I had begun to earn the trust of a few servants, those who whispered when the Empress wasn't listening. One was Arwell, a small, gray-skinned attendant with 4 eyes and a quiet stammer. He had once served the Dominion's military before being reduced to palace servitude for insubordination. I recognized that word for what it was. Defiance punished. He became my first ally. He told me stories about the colonies beyond the Dominion's core, where entire worlds simmer with unrest, where the Empress's rule wasn't worshipped but feared. "The cracks are spreading," he said one night as he cleaned the chamber's glass floor. If someone pushed just enough, those words echoed in me for days. The idea was madness. One human, alone, sparking rebellion in a civilization that spanned galaxies. But madness was all that remained of humanity, and I'd rather die insane than obedient. Vashtara continued to summon me, less as an ornament, more as a curiosity. She asked questions no one else dared. Why do humans kill for love? Why do you mourn even when you expect death? Why do you sing while dying? I answered her truthfully, though I doubted she understood. Because it's the only way to stay alive when everything else is taken. There was something strange in her silence after that, a shadow behind the golden eyes. Sometimes I caught her watching me longer than she should have, as though trying to understand a flaw that made humans dangerous. Then came the rebellion. It started far from the capital, a small mining moon, where workers rose against their overseers. The Dominion crushed them within a day. But rumors spread faster than plasma fire. More uprisings followed, more blood, and every whisper that reached the Citadel carried the same dangerous phrase. We heard of a human who defied the Empress. When I overheard it, I almost laughed. I hadn't done anything. Yet the idea of defiance had already grown beyond me. The Dominion had planted the seed themselves, and now it was blooming in the shadows of their empire. The High Council demanded brutal retaliation. Vashtara hesitated. I watched her pace in her throne room, fury and doubt warring in her movements. She had never faced resistance like this. The Dominion's perfection was unraveling. That night, she came to my chamber unannounced. "They speak your name," she said quietly. "Across the stars, rebels whisper about the human who would not kneel." "Maybe they just need a reminder," I said. "You think you could lead them?" "No," I answered, "but I can show them they're not alone." For a long time, she said nothing. Then, to my surprise, she dismissed my guards. The door sealed behind her. "If I let you go," she said, "the Dominion will burn. Then maybe it should." Our eyes met, and for the first time, I saw something raw in hers. Fear, perhaps, or respect. Maybe both. Without another word, she turned away and left me standing there, heart pounding. The next morning, the security fields around my chamber flickered. Just once, barely noticeable. But I knew she had made a choice. That night, I acted. I slipped into the corridors under the cover of the Citadel's nightly energy pulse, moving through vents and maintenance shafts I had mapped for months. I carried only what I needed: stolen access cards, improvised tools, and resolve. When I reached the detention levels, I found them, the prisoners, hundreds of them, from a dozen conquered worlds. Hollow-eyed, broken, forgotten, I tore open the cages, shouting in every tongue I knew, "You are free! Take your chance." Some hesitated, some wept, but others rose. By dawn, the Citadel was chaos. Fires burned through perfect corridors. Sirens screamed. The Dominion's capital trembled under the sound of rebellion reborn. I led them through the storm, heart pounding, blood singing. For the first time since Earth fell, I wasn't prisoner. I was human again. And somewhere high above, in her shining tower, Vashtara watched the flames of her empire's perfection shatter the night. The escape was chaos, and in chaos, humans thrived. We stole through fire and smoke, through alarms that howled across the Dominion's perfect order. The Citadel's walls shimmered, reconfiguring to seal exits, but I knew its rhythm by heart. For months, I'd studied every pulse, every hum. And for the first time, the great machine hesitated. Our small band, humans, aliens, hybrids, all one slaves, pushed into the docking bay. The air shimmered with energy shields as Dominion soldiers flooded in, their armor gleaming like molten glass. I ducked behind a fallen pillar, firing a stolen plasma rifle that burned my hands with every shot. Beside me, RYL fought like a being reborn, his trembling hands steady now as he aimed, shouting in his native tongue. Every scream of defiance was an anthem. Every death brought us one step closer to the ships. I saw the sleek form of a transport, the Vigilant Dawn, its hull half-damaged, but alive. That one! I shouted. We sprinted through the barrage, our boots slipping in smoke and blood. The Dominion's perfect soldiers advanced with synchronized precision, but we weren't fighting with order. We were fighting with desperation. And desperation wins wars. The ship's doors sealed behind us with a hiss. I slammed my hand on controls, barely knowing what I was doing, and the vessel lurched violently upward. Alarms screamed, gravity inverted. The stars tilted, and then we were free. For the first time in months, I breathed unfiltered air, my chest rising with something I hadn't felt since Earth burned. Hope. We drifted beyond the Dominion's perimeter before I dared to speak. Anyone still alive? I asked. A dozen hands rose, faces bruised, bloodied, but alive. A small miracle in a galaxy of gods. RYL slumped beside me, his voice shaking. You realize what you've done, human? The Empress will send every fleet after us. Then let her, I said. The galaxy will finally see her bleed. He stared at me for a long moment, then grinned. A small, savage grin that looked strangely human. Weeks turned into months as we fled across the stars. Every world we passed carried whispers of rebellion. Dominion outposts burned in the dark. Slave camps rose up and slaughtered their overseers. And everywhere, the same story spread. The human trophy has escaped. The human fights back. They call me the Unbroken One. I didn't lead armies at first. I led ideas. We broadcast our message into the void, raw, unfiltered, furious. The Dominion is not divine, I told them. They bleed, they fear, and they can fall. And they listened. At first, the Dominion laughed. They called us vermin, a nuisance. But vermin multiply. Our single ship became a fleet. Our whispers became a roar. Former slaves, exiled generals, even Dominion soldiers tired of their Empress's perfection joined us. The cracks Vashtara once ignored had become fractures she couldn't mend. From a bridge of the Vigilant Dawn, I watched our banner spread, a simple emblem, a broken chain wrapped around a star. It wasn't a symbol of humanity alone. It was for everyone who had ever knelt. We struck outposts with precision, stealing supplies, freeing captives, dismantling communication hubs. The Dominion's fleets, designed for grand wars, couldn't adapt to guerrilla chaos. We moved like ghosts, unpredictable and relentless. Each victory carried a price. Every world we liberated came at the cost of blood. I saw comrades fall, Arwell among them, torn apart by a Dominion blast during a raid on the Koran Nebula. His last words still haunt me. Light the fire, human. Don't let it fade. So I didn't. The rebellion became a wildfire, consuming everything the Dominion held sacred. Entire systems declared independence. The Empress, once untouchable, was forced from her throne to command her fleets directly, and I could feel her eyes on me across the stars. Our messages reached even her inner court. Sometimes I imagine her standing before the holoscreen, golden eyes flickering, listening to the voice of the man she once owned. I wondered if she regretted sparing me, or she finally understood what she had created. The final turning point came when we captured Veritha's Forge, a massive Dominion shipyard that built their world killer vessels. With it, we had more than ships. We had power. Real, terrifying power. As I stood upon the bridge, watching captured warships fall under our command, I felt a strange stillness. This was what humanity had been denied, a chance to stand equal beneath the stars. Not slaves, not trophies, not curiosities. Equals. But deep inside, I knew the war wasn't done. Not until the Dominion itself fell. Not until I stood before Vashtara again and proved that humanity's fire could outshine even her empire's suns. For now, though, I let myself breathe. In the quiet hum of the vigilant dawn, I whispered the same vow I made long ago, beneath alien stars. They took me as a trophy, but now I'll make them remember why humanity was feared. And across the void, in every dark corner of every world, that vow became a war cry. The war that followed burned brighter than any star. World after world rose in rebellion. The Dominion's fleets, once symbols of order and fear, fractured under the weight of their own arrogance. What began as whispers had become a storm of voices demanding freedom. And at the center of it, they spoke my name. It was strange, being both man and myth. To the newly freed, I was a savior. To the Dominion, I was a monster. I didn't care about either. I just wanted to end it, to stop the endless cycle of conquest that had devoured galaxy after galaxy. But endings don't come easy. Vashtara had vanished from the broadcasts. Rumors said she'd taken command of her remaining fleets personally. Some said she had become desperate. Others that she sought redemption. I knew her too well to believe in redemption. She wasn't one to atone. She was one to win. So when our scouts intercepted a transmission from the Dominion's core, an emergency signal from her flagship, the Radiant Ascendant, I knew this was it. The final battle. We gathered everything we had. The vigilant dawn led a ragtag armada of rebels, mercenaries, and deserters, ships from 100 worlds, patched together, held not by unity, but by fury. We weren't fighting for conquest. We were fighting for the right to exist without chains. The Dominion came for us in a wave of gold and fire. Thousands of ships, perfectly aligned, commanded by a single will. Their light filled the void, a storm of brilliance meant to blind us. But our light was different. It was raw, born from pain, forged from defiance. The battle tore the stars apart. Explosions painted constellations in blood and flame. I shouted orders across the bridge as the vigilant dawn buckled under impact after impact. Shields failed. Hulls cracked. But no one ran. Not this time. Every fighter that fell, every ship that shattered, pushed us closer. The Dominion's perfection faltered before the chaos of free will. For every precise maneuver they made, we answered with madness. Unpredictable, human madness. And it worked. When the Ascendant appeared on our scanners, gleaming like a sun, I knew what I had to do. I took the helm myself. Set course for her flagship, I said. My crew protested, but I silenced them with a glance. If she falls, the Dominion falls. This ends with me and her. The vigilant dawn plunged through the wreckage of burning ships, dodging plasma fire, cutting through debris. The Ascendant loomed before us. Immense, magnificent. The same gold and white structure I remembered from my captivity. We breached its hangar with a thunderous crash. I disembarked alone, rifle in hand, heart pounding. The corridors were hauntingly familiar. I had walked these halls in chains once. Now my boots echoed freely. The throne chamber doors opened, just as they had the first day I met her. And there she stood, Vashtara, still radiant, still terrible. Her armor cracked but gleaming, her golden eyes dimmed by exhaustion. Yet even now, she stood tall, the empress of a dying empire. You came back, she said softly, just as I knew you would. You could have stopped this, I told her. No, she said. You could have... She drew her blade, a weapon of burning plasma that hummed with ancient energy. I raised my rifle, then lowered it. No, not this time. I picked up a fallen Dominion sword instead. The duel was silent and brutal. Sparks filled the air as metal clashed against light. She moved with elegance. I moved with fury. Every strike carried the weight of 1,000 fallen worlds. At last, I disarmed her. She fell to one knee, the tip of my blade at her throat. The Empress of the Dominion, the woman who had enslaved my people, looked up at me, not with fear, but with a kind of sorrow. "So this is humanity," she whispered, defiant to the end. "No," I said quietly. "Unstoppable." I lowered the blade. Her eyes widened. "You won't kill me?" "No, I'm not your reflection. I'm your reckoning." I turned and walked away. Behind me, the Dominion's power core groaned, the ship tearing itself apart as systems failed. She didn't follow. She simply watched as everything she built began to collapse. When I reached the vigilant dawn again, the stars were burning with the light of dying warships. The Dominion was finished. The slaves were free. The Empress was gone. And humanity, forgotten, broken, mocked, had become legend. In the years that followed, new alliances rose where empires once ruled. Worlds rebuilt. People learned to live, not under fear, but under hope. They called the movement the Accord of the Unbroken. And though I never claimed to lead it, my name became its first word. Sometimes, when the battles fade in my dreams, I see Vashtar's eyes again, golden and sad, and I wonder if she ever understood what she unleashed. Because they thought they took a trophy. They created a storm. They made me unstoppable.